This is May 13th, 1981, and there's a conference which has popped up in 526. 526 was the old U.S. government code, which cut out before 1977 or earlier.
All federal government numbers have changed. If your call is local, please refer to your directory under U.S. government. If calling long distance, please dial long distance information. Thank you.
.526 has been sitting around in the ESS not doing much for many years and is now they're assigning in it again. Anyway, there's this PBX in 526.2s, which goes through two machines when you call it, and I don't know why that is. But the intercept line is now a conference, and if you're the first caller, you get a recording that plays once and stops. So let me first call a number in the PBX that rings, and then I'll call a number that goes to the conference.
Let me say something about how this call is going through, because this is in fact the first and only time that I've ever seen PBXs hooked up to the network this way. I'm calling from a number 1 ESS line. After I dial the last digit of the number, my office MFs to the destination ESS office downtown. Now the downtown ESS is dial pulsing into a dimension PBX. Everything's normal so far. But here is where it gets weird. This is dimension PBX power supply noise. Yes, and the dimension is now dial pulsing into a 701 step PBX. When the dimension cuts through, it goes off hook and stays off hook for the rest of the call, no matter what happens with the step. Now, at the time, I had no idea who could have done this. But you know, we did end up finding out. Now here's a call to a non-working number in that step PBX via the dimension. You'll see that it goes to a regular old answering machine which plays a message and hangs up. Now normally when an answering machine hangs up on you, you're going to time back to dial tone. However, since the dimension is holding the trunk off hook, the answering machine cannot get rid of us by just hanging up. We can hold the line indefinitely. And as you'll soon hear after the answering machine hangs up, another caller can come in right on top of it, and you can hear his line ringing.
The number you have dialed is not a working number. Please consult your Georgia Power telephone directory or dial a Georgia Power operator. This is a recording.
Now it turns out that all the non-working numbers are connected in parallel, tip to tip, ring to ring, so that when one caller is sitting on the line as we are, anybody else can come right in. And here's what happens when they do.
The number you have dialed is...
Cool step crosstalk here, and it's combined with dimension power supply noise, which is weird. That loud ring was just another line ringing with the full 90 volts, right on top of our line.
Apparently it is just an answering machine in a step PBX. The sleeves are not multiple, so anyone can ring it. The dimension that we're going through soups immediately. It stays souped no matter what. So the fact that the answering machine hangs up doesn't make any difference. And of course, with one line on, the others usually trip very quickly, thereby not re-triggering the answering machine.
Excuse me. Hello?
Hello?
This is.
Huh?
This is.
This is Greg.
Hi, Greg.
Wonder Woman?
Yes. Hello?
Hello?
This is.
John.
Hello?
Okay. What is that? Hello?
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 This is.
What?
Who are you?
This is Greg.
Hey, Greg. Greg.
What?
Hang up and call back. I can't hear you.
What?
Now I can hear you.
Yeah, there was some static on the line. No, it wasn't me doing that, because I've been on for about a minute now. I'm call waiting, so I was utilizing my call waiting.
Somebody's coming on. Hello?
They're not going to say anything.
Greg.
Which one are you calling?
The other one. He was here.
He was here, but he clicked off.
We just hung up the phone from each other.
Well, he was on before you got on.
Yeah, I know.
And then Evan's been on here, too.
Who?
Evan.
Who's Evan?
Mr. Greensnot. Remember him?
The who?
Remember Mr. Greensnot?
Yes, Mr. Greensnot, my alter ego, first name George. I named an answering machine after him.
No, you know him a long time ago.
Are you still there, Evan? I guess he's not.
Oh, he is. He ain't hung up yet.
Well, I just did. That's enough for that non-conference. If I catch it in any more active state, I'll record some more. This is May 13th, I think, 1981.
I must say, this is a surprise. It is 1981, and a new 701 PBX with direct inward dialing has appeared in Atlanta. Maybe it's not a new PBX, but being able to dial right into it is new. And what do you know, we've got a conference with that classic,
Somebody's coming on.
Hello?
that sound that I know from New York City, first heard in September 1970 in the 780 conference. And you know, Atlanta never had many 701 PBXs. It had less than 10 in the entire local calling area. As for New York, well, you know.
New York Life Insurance Company. The Time in Life Building. Chemical Bank.
This is the Holland American Line.
The Surface New York.
RCA.
The Metropolitan.
That list goes right off into the sunset for New York. Atlanta had its first 701 PBX conference in December 1978. I started it after I discovered that one of the PBXs at Delta Airlines had a broken down recording. I did not start this one. I didn't even know about it.
Doorbell's always got a recorder on hand.
Tastes like no other drug. But the reason is another
had 8 scotches and sodas. I haven't slept since 5 this morning.
What kind of scotch?
Stewart.
Greg, what happened to my scotch?
I've had that already. You know when I finished that scotch?
When?
I finished that before Christmas.
I only gave it to you a couple of days before Christmas.
Hey, can I help it? There was a hole in the bottle.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. That's the same Greg and Sylvia, still bantering back and forth, just like on that conference in February '78 that I started.
I'll eat it. Sylvia? I've been trying to, my dear.
Or do you want to go to bed?
Oh.
No.
Hey, you're not supposed to make propositions on here.
I meant if he wanted me to cut him off.
Hey, I cut myself off.
I told you about my job, didn't I?
Yeah, you sure did.
I love it.
I used to know a lot of people that worked at the Crystal.
Oh, bite my hair. Guess what?
What? You're now into frying eggs.
It was Greg,
Oh, okay.
my boss,
Yeah.
that
He propositioned you.
No, listen.
Listen.
He's getting a divorce.
Do you want to know a secret?
Greg,
Yeah, I'm here.
what are you doing?
I'm playing with my koozie.
You're what?
Yes, sir. Hey, is Jimmy on? Hello. Run, run, run. Hey, Jimmy. Yeah. What's happening, buddy? Jimmy James. Jimmy J. All right.
Jimmy was there on the March '77 conference, and he was really good at finding these things. He is probably the person who got this going.
Let it rain. Yeah. My ears are ringing so bad I can't hardly hear.
What's wrong?
I've been putting up with that crap they got the nerve to call a sound system at Limelight. It'll drive you crazy. That place is filthier than Numbers is tonight.
Did you go there tonight?
Yes, I've never seen it so dirty, ever. Oh, I want to go. Limelight? Yeah.
What was wrong with it?
Well, it was filthy. The floor is dirty, and the rug has gotten rotten in spots and comes up on your feet like it does at Numbers, and that's
you know
it.
it's so dirty, don't you?
Horrible. Why?
They've been down there filming that Burt Reynolds movie. I'm sure they've had all that equipment in there and stuff.
Well, but they should have cleaned it up.
I mean, this is gross. I mean, this is like broken glass on the floor and straws everywhere, and I mean, you know, the waiters usually try to clean it up. But
Really? That doesn't sound like Limelight.
It was rude.
They must have screwed up or something.
Well, I know one thing. They screwed up when they hired Bob Anderson. He liked to put me to sleep. Dentist office disco.
What, is he the DJ?
Yes, he's their excuse for one.
That's the way it was at the Parr Library the other night.
Now, Bruce gets on his moods, and he gets where he's not so interested in keeping the crowd happy.
Well, Numbers is pretty poppin', isn't it?
I wouldn't set foot in there. I don't know.
It's
Really?
pretty stickin', it's more like it.
Huh?
It's pretty stickin'.
I've been there once in a
I've-
long while.
I've had it with the clubs in Atlanta.
Yeah, my cousin just got back from Fort Lauderdale, and he went to the back street there.
Yeah,
Have you heard about it?
yeah.
It's supposed to be done like a 1920s ballroom.
It's okay. The decor is not as nice as the one here. The sound system is real good, and the lighting is shit.
But it's 3 times as big as the one here.
That's true.
The dance floor is as big as the whole back street here.
Joe Messina was spinning at Backstreet tonight, and I had forgotten how much I dislike his style.
Well, where has he been? What Numbers?
Hello? Somebody joined us.
Hello.
Hello.
Who are you? Dave.
Who?
Dave. David.
Somebody? Hello? He's back.
That must be Dunwoody.
No, that's definitely not Dunwoody.
Dunwoody has like this.
When Dunwoody touch tones, it goes like this.
Go much longer and you turn off the stereo.
That's burnout.
Dunwoody, how long does it take to pick out a ditty like that?
Well, I had help.
I programmed his phone.
Oh, good news. You did what?
I
You
pro-
programmed the phone.
I put it in there. Now all he has to do is press the button.
Is it meant to
The other night you
be
played Penny Lane. It's meant to be outrageous.
No, he didn't play Penny Lane the other night.
Somebody.
I did.
Well.
Surprisingly, the Atlanta conference callers were more 24-hour and more addicted than the New York conference people. In this next segment, you can hear two people confessing to conference addiction syndromes. One forgot to eat. The other has sort of gotten depressed from hanging on it too long.
Wonder has to wander away for a second, but I shall return.
Come back when you can stay long.
What?
Come back when you can
What you gonna do? Take a pill?
No, I'm gonna fix me something to eat for the first time in 2 days.
Well, girl, wish you'd fix me a little bite.
Well, I will. Come on.
Come on.
Come on.
You got yours on. Come on, for Roger.
I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah.
Thanks for the warning.
Is she gonna take a 10-100?
Got it.
Yeah.
You know what I got?
Watch out now. Is that a leading question?
You know what I got?
What is it?
I got the conference line blues.
Yeah, that's true.
He's got what?
Say it again.
I got the conference line blues.
They're dropping like flies.
Hello, Melanie. Hello.
Hey, Nancy.
Hey, Alan.
Ain't you on the radio?
Yeah.
What channel? 17?
No, I'm 40.
40? Side band?
Yeah, lower.
Well, damn, that gives me up.
Do you feel like, Alan, that your friends are leaving you when they get all these higher channels and side bands?
Yeah. For real, man.
No. When'd you move to a trailer, John? I don't know.
Oh, my goodness.
Guess on one of our bad days. Apparently. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Mel,
What?
call me.
Calling you, what for?
Well, you run down here.
Hang up.
Uh,
Okay, bye.
Hello?
Yeah, we dog.
Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome,
Yeah. Well, hello. Hello.
Hello. Everything you get.
John? There's your friend Dunwoody.
Oh, my God.
Red Dunwoody.
The Dunwoody goody.
Oh, I heard that one time. Dunwoody. I was laughing.
Well, I believe you're about half crocked.
I don't know goddamn what you believe.
You know what this phone line needs?
What?
It needs a rhythm section. Don't you agree?
Yes.
At least.
What about dude make you into shit? How is he?
John, do you have your head in the barrel?
Yeah.
It sure does sound like it.
Right.
Well, so much for that. This is May 21st, 1981. Actually, it's the 22nd after midnight. This is May 22nd, hoping to get a tape of the line when it's idle.
We are sorry, the number you have dialed is not a working number. Please check your Georgia Power directory or call the Georgia Power operator for assistance. This is a recording.
Okay, there it is. As you can see, the answering machine has been re-recorded. I do have a tape of it on another cassette earlier with a different announcement.
As we listen to this strange combination of step and dimension noise, there it is. Let me mention that the re-recording of the intercept announcement is a bad sign because it means that somebody has noticed the conference and is starting to do something about it, or at least is trying to. Now I'll show you how this happens. Here's the sound of calling a number on the conference when somebody else is on that particular individual step number. This busy signal is coming from the actual step PBX we're trying to call, and when this happens, it's not a problem. All you have to do is dial a different phone number. But there is another busy tone that we sometimes get, as in this case here.
Uh-oh.
Yes, uh-oh. That reorder tone is coming from the dimension, meaning that the trunks over to the step are all used up, with the conference, of course. What that leads to is whoever maintains this PBX saying,
What in the hell is happening to my DID traffic?
Hello.
Oh, the beep is back. Hey, take your tone. Jimmy, yeah. Hey, hey. Who's here? Hello? Hello, who came back on? Johnny Angel. Hello, Johnny, this is Dunwoody. Yes, sir. Who else is on? I don't know, I just got here. Who's this, Dunwoody? Yeah. Is that George? Yeah. Hey, where's Wonder?
She was just on here a second ago.
Is Sandy on? No, Sandy's in Panama City, that's right. Well, I'll check back a little later.
What are you doing tonight?
Just talking with some friend. I got a friend online right now. He's in my computer group that I'm showing about the conference.
Now this is 1981. When Steve says, my computer group, I think he's talking about a group of people in the Atlanta local calling area who hang out on a BBS. That was pretty much all it could be, because we don't have free nationwide calling. We don't have the internet. But we do have 300 baud modems Maybe we've got 1200 by this point. I don't know. I never cared for the computers. I still don't. But anyway, I think he's talking about a BBS. Now, in this next segment, you're going to hear a lot of 1097 phone numbers being talked about. And what those are telephone company looparounds that these folks know about. People go off the conference and jump onto a telco looparound to have a private conversation. And the standard numbers in Atlanta are 1096 and 1097. Those numbers are not stuck to consistently, but those were the most common standard numbers for the looparounds. So much so that when we made our own homemade looparound in 1980, we made a point of getting 2 telephone numbers that ended in 96 and 97. Anyway, that's what's going on. One person is telling the other to get on a looparound when you hear that. Just one other piece of trivia. Atlanta's most notorious looparound sitter, that is, the guy who would call into a looparound and hold up one side of it for 3, 4, 5, 6 days at a time, is a guy named Ernest. And guess whose name shows up sometime in the next few segments?
Yeah.
Jimmy, hang up, let me call you.
All right. Bye. Simple engine 20, KIK258. Engine 20, call station 3. Soon when you arrive in quarters, KIK258.
Wonder.
What?
Hey, when I tell you to call 1097, when I say now, hang up real quick and call me, okay?
Okay, now. Hello? I want to get in on this too. I got to have a contest out of it now. You're going to say now. Now. Now.
Who's on here?
Huh?
Who's on here?
I ain't heard anybody on there.
Bunch of rednecks.
Pin rods?
I've been to Penrod,
Oh, which one?
North Lake.
No, I got the. I've been to North Lake a couple times. Call some hula hands.
Hula hands is
Hula hands is right across the street in
And
know
at
what
Lemon
the hell you're
Square.
next to Elon's there. Next door to Elon's.
Elon's too classy of a place for you. You should go there.
You son of a bitch, you got a voice like a woman. You probably fit right in there.
Well, maybe I do.
You probably
More than
queer as
you
a
can.
$3 bill.
Who asked Wonder what she was doing tonight?
I did.
I did, Wonder, and I'm quite queer.
Greg, is that you?
That's Greg the queer, for sure.
Hush up on Greg.
Well,
Yeah,
Greg,
the one you
Greg,
said.
he about right here, you know.
Greg don't live on 8th Street.
He
thank
lives on
you.
8th and Juniper.
That's Johnny.
Well, let's hear what you got to say anyway. So I will hush.
What are you doing tonight, Greg?
Well, first I have to go pick somebody up. And then
Oh, you have a car, my God.
Would you hush and let
I
Greg
thought you worked to
talk?
work with your umbrella.
you want to call me at home?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
What was that, Marco?
What was that? Hello?
Hello?
Huh? Hello? You get off on that word, don't you? It's probably the biggest thing you know how to spell. Huh? That's probably the biggest thing he knows how to spell is screw. How you spell it? K-R-E-W? Just however you would like. K-R-E-W? How do you spell it? That's the way I spell it. R-L-A-D-I-F. That's, yeah, I say I'd spell that way too. Huh? Yeah, I've heard it spelled that way too. Well, where's the rest of these turkeys that get on there? Damn if I know. Where'd that come from? Had that loudspeaker there. Yeah, I don't know. Some asshole gets on here. There's a bunch of them. Where you live at? Huh? Where you live at? Howard County. Snailville or somewhere. No. Huh? No, you're going the wrong way. Which way? I'm near Marietta. Oh, that's worse.
Marietta.
Marietta.
Wow, I hadn't heard that before. I always thought that it was Mayretta, something like that. But hey, what do I know?
Marietta.
Thank you. Well, anyway, at this point, I got the idea that the rednecks on the line were starting to get a little bit out of hand.
R-L-A-D-I-F.
So, cluelessly embodying that same kind of blind prejudice that lumps people in a class and says they all suck, I decided to put a PSA out, which ended up making the same mistake that one of those obnoxious redneck guys was doing. Now, one of the people I skewer here certainly deserved it, but the other guy, good old drunk John, was actually an integral part of the conference and didn't deserve to be messed with at all. But he had a really good comeback line after I played this recording on the conference. So anyway, here's my mock public service announcement, followed by the immediate reaction on the conference when I played it.
You know, there's been a lot of noise on the conference recently. This is what it sounds like.
Probably a big singer you know how to spell. Huh? You son of a bitch, you got a voice like a woman. You probably fit right in there.
Geez, we might as well have a cow mooing on here. Actually, that would be more amusing. There's only one reason why the noise continues. Because we respond to it. Now think a minute. If there were some static on the line, you wouldn't try to talk back to it, would you? Of course not. So the next time you hear extraneous noise, treat it like what it is, extraneous noise. Excuse me, I couldn't hear you, the cow was mooing. Now let's try a practice drill. Pretend you're hearing this.
Where's the rest of these turkeys that get on there?
Damn if I know.
Now respond to it as if you heard this. Very good. One more time. Whenever you hear this,
Where'd that come from? Had that loudspeaker there.
respond to it as if you had heard this. Thank you.
Doorbell, everybody likes a piece of ass. Nobody likes a smart ass. Oh, that's wonderful.
Hello?
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 Hi. Sounds like the Waltons again. It did. Billy Joe Jim Bob. Night, y'all.
John boy. Who's all on now?
John Bob.
John Dory.
Boy Bob.
David.
Yes.
Who's all on?
Who is all alone?
Now who is all on?
Well, let's have a roll call.
Wonder.
David.
Jimmy.
Oh, that's cute. Hey, y'all.
Hey, y'all.
I didn't hear the roll call.
Okay, David.
Wonder.
Jimmy.
Murph.
Who? Murph. Who did he say?
You know, your friendly 76 Steeler.
Oh, fuck you.
Oh, you bite my ass.
Move your nose.
Hey, y'all.
I got through shaving.
Well, good.
Well, good.
All
You just
dressed
got your down
up,
throat,
dick
did
out here.
Hey, y'all.
Yeah.
I'll be back in a minute, okay?
Okay.
Bye.
That did you use after shave or before shave?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hey.
Hey. How in the world are you?
I'm doing just fine. How y'all folks doing?
Well, Judy?
JJ? Yes. You hanging in there?
Hello, who just came in?
Wait a minute. Here's your one, JJ. Mildred?
Mildred?
JJ's already talked to Mildred. Who just
Oh,
came
really?
in?
Hello?
Hello?
What?
I'm in Smyrna now.
What are you doing in Smyrna?
Being bored.
With whom?
Nobody. Hello, who just came on? Hello?
Hello?
Who's that? Who's this? George?
George.
Yeah? I can't believe I ate that whole thing.
I
George.
can't believe you tried. Well, all right.
Well, did you? Who called my name?
You're laughing again.
Let me laugh.
Alan,
Oh,
did you get that dining room painted?
Yeah, no.
What'd you do?
Could just be dang paint peeling off.
You just put it on there.
Now, on the walls, it's peeling off.
Do you not know how to prepare a wall before you start to paint it?
Yeah, but you're wrong. The old paint won't hold the new.
Well, scrape it off.
I did, but it's got gouts in it.
Well, put a little spackling paste on it.
Yeah,
Or,
I will when I get some.
well, I'll be damned.
I can't stand you gonna wait that long?
Any excuse is better than none.
Who can't stay out long?
Alan,
Yeah.
I said you gonna wait that long?
Huh?
Never mind. 768-1097. Okay, bye.
Well.
Huh? Good night, everybody.
Good night, Melanie.
Good night. Good night. Good night, John, boy.
Are you leaving?
Who's leaving? Good night, John, girl. Are you leaving? Are you leaving? Who? You. No.
Why, hell no, it ain't daylight.
Would you stay out here until daylight? Yeah. Bruce. Bruce.
Yeah.
Are you still there?
Yeah.
I can't really hear you. Bruce.
I can't hear anybody else, but there's a number on here that I can
Just go back. Just get off and try any two last digits. He doesn't know what the numbers are. Hey, don't leave me, okay? George. Yeah.
What did you call 768-1097?
Yeah.
Did it click in, or did you talk to somebody?
It clicked in. Hello.
Nobody was there?
Hello. Somebody was there.
Who was it?
Ernest or something like that.
Ernest.
Brucey.
Go ahead, hello.
Brucey.
I'm right here.
Did I leave my heels over at your house?
Yes, there's like...
Probably. Well, put them up. That was my best pair. Hello.
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 Hey.
Hello.
Hello?
Johnny there? Well,
Yeah,
that's cute.
Johnny.
Hey, this is Zach.
Hey, Zach. Back.
George.
Yeah.
George.
What you been
I'm here.
doing?
Hang
Mark
up
call
right
in?
now and call
Huh?
768-1097.
I haven't heard
Why?
it.
Just
call.
He probably went to bed. Okay. What's happening?
Not very much. Just a bunch of dizzy queens.
Really?
Uh-huh. Oh, and Alan, I forgot him.
I'm real good.
What?
Nothing to tune about.
Well, Alan,
Yeah.
if you didn't paint the dining room, what did you do?
I'll paint it.
Oh, now it's peeling off.
Off the wall. Okay, who told me to call 97? Hey.
I did.
Why? Hey, girl.
I don't know how you're getting into the other loop around. I mean, it's, you know...
Where's all the girls?
Huh?
Hey, girl.
What?
Hey, what's your name?
Sounds of adventure.
Call me, girlie. What's your name, baby?
Well, all right.
I'm wide awake all.
Who said they're wide awake?
Who's wide awake?
JJ. JJ's always wide awake.
Alan,
Yeah.
good night.
Good night.
Nancy,
Yeah.
are you leaving?
No, that's Melanie.
Well, I thought she done said goodnight. Melanie?
Yeah.
Melanie said
Just
goodnight a
can't
couple of
stand it,
times
can you?
tonight.
Just
I know,
can't.
I'm going for good this time.
Uh-huh.
We believe you.
Well, sweet dreams.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Alan,
There you go.
I can't believe you're sober tonight.
Yeah.
Why?
What makes you think he's sober?
Because he can talk without biting his tongue.
Good reason.
Huh?
Good reason. Kevin. What? Try 768-1097.
Kevin.
768-1097. Uh-huh.
Kevin,
Yeah.
try 8920230 first.
Wait a minute. Try I need a pen here. All right.
Johnny,
What?
What is that? 8 what?
that's quite a loop around you got going there.
I know that's right.
8 what?
8920230.
That's his own phone number. 0230. Okay.
That's all the loop I need.
Okay.
He's going to get 3 and 4 calls now.
Uh-huh.
I hope so.
Is that Clay?
This is Clay, yeah.
Well, all right, hold on.
Is that George?
Yeah.
I wish you would cooperate.
Why?
Get on the fucking loop when I ask you to.
I do. And you don't.
No, I do. See, there are 2 loop rounds, 768-1097
Uh-huh.
and 2193.
Uh-huh.
Each of the numbers has 2 lines in. So, you know, you have to call once or twice to be sure you got connected with the person you wanted to.
I didn't know that.
Now, the problem is that what I did was I have 3 lines here at this place where I am now. I busied out one side of, 1097 and then called it on the other line. It was busy, which meant that one of the loop rounds was busy.
Uh-huh.
And then I got the other 2 to connect. So I stayed on 2193 and you never came in. I had 2193 up on the line and called 1097 on the other line to be sure it would connect, and you never called in.
Well, I got an easier idea.
What?
Try 289-2651.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Boy, I tell you, getting people to go on a loop around and meet you is actually really simple, but it's almost impossible to get them to do it. They usually will just balk at just the wrong time and not do the simple thing you ask. It's like trying to get someone to make a left turn the right way. But anyway, that's the end of the beginning of the 526 conference. The next program will begin with the beginning of the end of the 526 conference. Okay, I guess that's a little confusing.
Right, Tom.
Yes, well, what's left is a long segment of tape where the 526 conference is dismantled. Well, you just got to hear this to believe it. That's in the next program. And by the way, from listening to the next program, I have a correction to make. I've been saying that these calls to the step PBX were going through a dimension PBX. Well, it turns out it's not a dimension. It's an early ROLM PBX, ROLM. They had a number of different kinds of PBXs, and some of their early ones sounded like dimensions. They were probably pulse amplitude modulation, just like dimension. No digitization, lots of added power supply noise. Noisy, but not fuzzy. That same general sound as dimension. And that's why I thought it then, and I even thought it now in going back to the tape. I really had never had any exposure to ROLM. It was a little too late for me to come into it. Now, dimension I knew about, primarily because I worked at a dimension switchboard at Piedmont Hospital. But ROLM started in the late 70s, early 80s, and then it continued all the way through the 90s and stuff. And apparently the early ROLMs were very much like dimensions. Sure sounded like one to me. So, sorry for the error. The ROLM PBX was kind of interesting because they kind of redesigned a PBX with all its features from the ground up, as in never mind how it was done before. The PBX dial tone was two completely different frequencies, and
PBX.
oh yes, they don't call it a PBX, they call it a CBX, computerized branch exchange. See what I mean? And the way they did the features was sort of redesigned, not taking after the Bell system. And every ROLM telephone had a dial plate with feature codes right on it. So you could see that *1 was this, and #1 was that, and *4 was this, and #4 was that. Every phone had the codes right on it. It probably worked pretty well, because it was more overt, but I don't know. In this program, conference segments have been concatenated in a way that does not reflect the actual traffic pattern of the conference, but is a lot more listenable.